Video 8 Environment Controls. We're moving to the next part of the hierarchy of controls, replacing the hazard or substitution. That means completely changing what could be the hazardous item. A way to do that is with updated equipment. This picture is of an older style where the person is having to remove the cremains with a broom by hand and most likely has to go in there to clean it by hand. And the substitution of that would be a newer type model, even a digital model, or one that has an automatic loading, a place where you can clean it, and most likely collects the cremains automatically. So that's a complete substitution of the machine. Substitution also means alternatives. So this might be different chemicals or embalming, a higher concentration of glutaraldehyde, methyl alcohols, or even some of the eco and green solutions could completely replace at some point formaldehyde risks. But it looks like we are still looking for really effective replacements for formaldehyde. So I found this one online. This is one that's like a mix of formaldehyde and glutaraldehyde to reduce it. If you look at it, there's our old friends, the hazard pictograms down there in the front, still showing that this is a toxic chemical. Then we're going to move to the last area of the hierarchy of controls, physically remove the hazard. Make it so you are not even in contact with whatever the hazard might be. And these tend to be bigger industrial solutions. Emissions filters, ventilation. We talked about emissions with respiratory risks in the first video, and most equipment now, it's required, especially for cremation equipment, to have filters of any of the emissions that are coming out from the cremation machine itself to make sure that none of that's getting in the air. Same thing with air exchange. Excellent air exchange within the facility makes sure that things like pathogens, gases, fumes are all taken out and fresh air is brought in. And that's a complete industrial solution by eliminating the risk. When placing the deceased into a cremation chamber, it's important to make sure that there are no devices within the deceased that could cause damage, explosions, or release very toxic emissions, even if they're filtered. So, this might be something like a heart pacemaker or a heart defibrillator, any other battery implant, silicone, plastic surgery implants, and radioactive implants. Hopefully, with radioactive implants, like we talked about in waste management, they're either removed at the hospital and you've been made aware of them so you can dispose of them and remove them with the proper safety shielding. General safety. Fire danger is a risk factor at a mortuary services facility. There's heat producing equipment if there's cremation, and there's storage of incredibly flammable chemicals. Remember, the pictogram flame is on almost all of them. And of course, there's average upkeep ones like faulty electric wiring. But we need to make sure that we are smart about storage and equipment management to lower our risk of fire because we don't want Mr. Fireman Man to come in. So, some of that means that there's an adequate number of exits. When you open the exit door, it needs to be in safe area. The exit doors are unlocked. Access to exits must be remain free and unobstructed, so not putting boxes or the extra office chair in front of it. Training and keeping compliant. It is your employer's responsibility to train you in these risks, either by having a handbook that is given to you on initial employment and having one on one training at your introduction. Anytime you change what tasks you're performing, so let's say you start off in doing cosmetics and then you move into embalming, you need to be retrained and it needs to be done annually. Your employer has a responsibility to keep you safe. So that means developing and maintaining an infection prevention and occupational health programs. There should be systems in place for all of these things. Employer needs to provide the supplies necessary to adhere to standard precautions. So that means providing personal protective equipment, engineering controls, and the ability to perform the tasks safely. One person in the facility, at least one, should have training in the infection control prevention to be able to answer questions. And there needs to be documentation that all these policies and procedures are appropriate for what you're providing. So remember, every time you make an OSHA violation, this is the person that you're making it in front of. It's me going, really? Right in front of my OSHA handbook? Finally, anytime you enter a new facility, it is really hard to change what's already going on. Sometimes people have done it a certain way. It's very hard to update it and make sure that you're compliant. But it's extremely important for our safety. Make sure that you set the example. That's the absolute best way. Thank you so much for spending your time with me. We have completed OSHA-tastic and infection out of control for mortuary science. Here's the QR code for your Check Your Knowledge Part 2. I'd also appreciate if you could evaluate me, Julia Martin, the speaker, for these videos. And again, I appreciate being able to teach you, and I hope that it keeps you safe.